Andrew, for those of us who don't know you better, what does Andrew Cullen do and who are you? Is that something you've always wanted to be, as well as being a coach, being an entrepreneur? Can I ask you some quick fire questions? Welcome to the JOD Pod, a micro podcast where we interview CEOs, entrepreneurs, authors, founders, and coaches. Today, we are very lucky to be joined by Andrew Cullen. Andrew is the managing director and PGA professional at acgolf.ch. Andrew, great to have you on the JOD Pod today.
Nice to be here, James. Thank you for the invite.
Not a problem. Andrew, for those of us who don't know you better, what does Andrew Cullen do and who are you?
I've been a PGA, so Professional Golfers Association professional since fully qualified since 1991. I've worked at different golf courses in Scotland and England initially. I've now been in Switzerland since 2003. Basically coaching a lot of beginners. I was also involved in quite a lot of tournament administration at the start, but now I'm just sort of focusing into my niche really, which is just focusing on coaching my good clients and lots of people who are starting up in the game.
Wonderful. Are you, lots of people picking the golf clubs up and giving it a go?
You know, it has been. I mean, in sort of Central Europe where I am now, it's growing in popularity. Switzerland's one of the few countries that has consistently grown in participation since the sort of early 2000s, and most of the rest of the world participation was struggling. So since about 2008, 2009. So participation rates are pretty good. And there was a COVID boost, strangely enough, with people really wanting to get outside into the fresh air, do something that just was able to switch off from home office, get away from the computer, and that's kind of where I'm going with the whole thing about golf yourself to life, which we'll come to in a minute.
Wonderful. Well, it seems to make sense. So, like golf should be, pretty socially distanced, apart from the last hole. It's good to see that there's been an uptick and that you're feeling that. Now you've been a coach, but you're also looking at golfing and coaching as an entrepreneur. You've got things that you're building out there. Yeah. Is that something you've always wanted to be, as well as being a coach, be an entrepreneur?
You know, it's a bit of a strange one. I kind of came into doing golf videos about 2 or 3 years ago, just on social media channels, and I was kind of driven to do it because my feeling with golf, our industry, we're still stuck a little bit. There's still this preconception this is a elitist sport. It's only for old rich people. It takes too long. It's too boring. It's too hard to learn, such stuff. And I'm trying to bust through all that. And I don't think the golf industry was doing itself any favors by the videos they were creating, because they were long and boring and very technically orientated. So I started just doing some for fun and trying to present in a slightly more fun way, doing short videos, and it might have been a tip, or it might have been a mental tip, or observations, or whatever it was. But I think that the whole thing needs to be presented in a different way if we're really to grow golf consistently. Yes, we've had a little COVID boom, but the underlying preconceptions are still there, and we've got to break through those barriers. So that's the whole point of, I kind of stumbled into that. And then I thought I should write a book about this, because I've been in the golf, I've played golf since I was 3 years old. My mum and dad played, my grandparents played, everybody played, So the book is sort of, this is why I play. And then I did a questionnaire to my customers saying why they play. So it's a sort of argument of why people should take up golf, and a COVID argument again: get outside, get in nature, get into the fresh air, get away from stress and pollution, go with your family. It was great when I was growing up. It was a multi-generational thing. So, I was playing with my granddad and my grandmom and my dad, and what other sports can you do that in? Very few, really. So that's the whole drive. And then the Golf Yourself to Life book, which is in the publishing process, sort of developed into, as you know, I'm in the sort of Dent Entrepreneur program, was surround the problem with solutions. So the problem golf has is, look, we still need participation. A lot of the problems of modern lifestyle is sedentary lifestyle and obesity are the two big ones we're attacking here, really. Get people away from their computer screens, get people walking around the golf course. You do way more than 10,000 steps in 3.5 hours playing around the golf course, you know. So that I was followed up the book with a video course, which I did my first video course, a mental course, and I got the hang of how to put a video course together. So that'll back up the book. It'll also be backed up with some golf course retreats into the Black Forest, where I work in Germany, so beautiful part of the world. Invite people over to do a sort of intensive week to start off with their golfing career for life, and then also live webinars. So we're coaching anybody in the world, and also video exchange app. So people in wherever, San Diego, can send me pictures of their video, their swing video. I can analyze it, get back to them within 24 hours. You need to do this, practice this. So we cover all angles, basically, of how to get into this brilliant sport.
That's wonderful, Andrew. I love you talking about this. It's so evident that this is what you should be doing. You know, your passion comes through. It's great. Like I've seen some of your videos online, and you really do talk about golf in a unique way with your own personal brand stamped heavily on it, and I can totally see how you could inspire people to get out from in front of the computer and you know, take some activity, take some action, which is lovely. One of the questions that I ask some of the guests that I've had on the show, from a kind of entrepreneurial perspective, and I'm interested because as a coach, you're already used to working with people a lot, but you're now moving into a more business style of working and setting up courses and writing a book, and all of those kind of things align very well with that. Can you remember when you got your first customer? So not necessarily coaching customer, but person to actually start moving through your funnel or moving through your products, and how that happened.
Whew. I've had so many clients over so many years. it's quite difficult just to sort of bring it down to sort of one. I coach in a different way now. I think what you learn as a coach, I guess, in any subject is you get better at being a filter. And you take in all this vast amount of knowledge, and particularly from my sport, for example, the biomechanics and the study of biomechanics and how the body moves efficiently in any sporting movement. We've learned so much about that in the last few years, but you have to filter that knowledge down, and how does that pertain to the person standing in front of you? And I think really, as a coach, I would say only in the last 5 or 10 years, as my understanding of biomechanics has really come, I'm able to really give a pretty simple, pretty logical, pretty understandable lesson to the client in front of me. And that's the critical piece. There's all sorts of different software and machinery we can use, but it's not there to impress the customer. Still at the end of the day, you're there to give them more enjoyment when they go out onto the golf course. That's what it's all about. And if you can do that in a simple and logical and fun way, then that's a really critical part of my performance. I don't know if I answered your question because I can't nail it down to one client. So
I'm interested though. Like, so is the way that you get a client, is it that they are referred to you as the professional, so that the club refers them directly to you? Is that how it works?
Well, we're in a pretty advantageous position at a golf club. You know, we've got nearly 600 members at our club. I'm one of 3 professionals there that teaches, so we already have a fairly good captured market. But I also worked at another golf club on the Swiss side, so I worked just over the border into Germany, but I worked on the Swiss side for 8 years, so I got a lot of clients who actually come across the border as well to still take lessons from me. So it's part word of mouth, it's part reputation, obviously. for being in this area for 10 or 12 years now. So yeah, that takes a little while to build up for sure. And the interesting, the entrepreneurial, exciting part for me is can I build a worldwide audience? That's quite fascinating. That's the whole online entrepreneurial thing. There's a huge market out there, but you've really got to be focused in who are they, where are they, what are they doing, what are their likes, etc.
I think it's almost like a microcosm of what you're trying to build, because you've got the social proof that the club is giving you. They're saying that you are good enough to coach here, and so therefore people are trusting that referral to then become clients with you, and now that's kind of been extrapolated up to a worldwide stage where you're producing content that then people can make a decision on whether or not they trust you to then step into your programs there. And it'd be really interesting once people start making that step into those programs that you're building out there.
The kind of confidence that I get is when we're doing these short videos, and I posted them also on the golf club's social media, and I got a lot of good feedback about it and really enjoyed the video, and I tried this, can we have a lesson on it, that kind of thing. But more critically, people, the golfers within their family who were non-golfers were also watching my videos and were quite entertained by it. I thought, that's a different ball game. So maybe we can cross the divide, break through the barriers through presenting golf in a different light and making it much more entertaining. That's where it needs to come from.
Yeah, changing the brand of golf. Yeah. And I think there's lots of different areas which struggle from having a stagnant brand, and actually having personalities that come into that reframe how people talk about it is a really interesting way to go down that. That's fantastic. Thanks for that, Andrew. And the best place for people to find out more about this would that be your website?
Yeah, so I'm on acgolf.ch for Switzerland, obviously. As soon as the Golf Yourself to Life book is published, we'll be on golfyourselftolife.com. So that's the sort of pending. Then all the news about all the Black Forest retreats and the video series to back up the book and all the rest of it will be on there, and live webinars and
Wonderful. Well, I'm sure when this goes live, you would have got a coming soon page there, and people can leave their email address to be told when things are going live. Andrew, that's fantastic.
Exactly. Awesome.
Andrew, can I ask you some quick fire questions?
Quick fire round, go for it, man.
Fantastic. What's the number one app that you use every day, or SaaS product you use every day?
The GoWad is my favorite app. So I'm now 56 years old. I'm still playing competitively golf. The GoWad app is basically a mobility app aimed at CrossFit athletes, but it's really multi-purpose. I would say anybody of any age can use it. So mobility for the golf swing is the most important part, that you have joint mobility. So it's like a different daily exercise routine. It's only 8 minutes. So I'm on the black roll sort of 8 minutes in the morning, and then I do the GoWad app for 8 minutes. I also meditate for 15 minutes as well, because it's good for the brain. But the GoWad app is super simple, super good explanations, super good videos, just it's great stuff. I recommend. I've got people like 60, 70, even 80 years old using the GoWad app, and it's sort of aimed at CrossFit athletes. So awesome app, really good.
Brilliant. I think keeping moving is such an essential thing, no matter what your age, because you can so quickly degenerate by being stuck in front of a computer. And so getting out.
I've seen that so much in the last year of people turning up for golf lessons with their head down and shoulders round because they've been sitting in front of the computer all day. So it's nice to get them out and stretching and
moving. Fantastic. That's a great recommendation. Thanks for that, Andrew. What's your number one recommended book?
I'm a big fan of The Mindful Athlete. George Mumford, I believe his name was, which is a fascinating story of a NBA coach and mindfulness. And it's quite a fascinating story. The guy, George Mumford, he was a heroin addict, and got himself out of it because he got into quite pain-relieving drugs because he had a bad injury. He wanted to be an NBA player, couldn't make it, and then took drugs for the injury, and then couldn't get all sorts of drug problems. And it's really how he turns around through mindfulness his life and to become an NBA coach. But his classic line within the book is the space between stimulus and response. And I see it all the time in sports, almost in day-to-day life, as you're given a stimulus, maybe a difficult situation. The mindfulness gives you that sort of, whether it's a split second in sport or some more time in work or whatever, before you respond. It's almost like time to prepare yourself how to respond. Just as a quick one, if we've got time, I was watching the football last night, right? There was the penalties between Switzerland and France. And Switzerland's got all their penalties. But you have to say, if you looked at it, there was George Mumford in action. So every single penalty taker, they used to, in my day, we were watching terrible Scotland performances. They would put down the ball and they couldn't get the penalty over quick enough because they just, there was nerves and whatever. Every penalty taker last night put the ball down, stood behind the ball, the goalie was ready, referee had already blown his whistle. And it's like they just took that 2 or 3 seconds. I've done this 1,000 times in practice. I have to visualize the ball. I always put it in the top left corner. Boom, top left corner. It was really impressive, actually. Really good.
Yeah. It's incredible that mind games, particularly when you see penalty shootouts. This is in the Euro Championships that we're talking about now. That happened last night, and you could literally look into their eyes and you could see what they were thinking as they were doing it. And I actually noticed that the ref was blowing the whistle, and as you say, back in the day it was, let's kick it as quick as we possibly can. But whereas last night there was a definite breath, wasn't there? You could just have a breath, and then they just kind of went through it. Fascinating. Thanks for sharing that, Andrew. I think I've heard of that book before, but I'll certainly link to that, and it sounds something that a lot of entrepreneurs could actually benefit from reading as well.
It's an awesome audible book because the guy that reads it brilliantly. It's not George Mumford himself, but the guy totally understands the book that's reading. It's really good.
Excellent. We'll put the links to both of those down below so people can follow up on that. Andrew, who do you love watching on the YouTubes or listening to on your podcasts?
I'm a converted Abraham Hicks fan, so it's like life coaching from the other side. So Esther Hicks is a medium, and it's fascinating whether you believe the background or not. It's fascinating and extremely logical life coaching. It can be life changing if you're into that sort of thing.
Wow, that's definitely a first on the podcast, Andrew. Thanks for that. I'll share that. Yeah. And that's a podcast rather than a YouTube channel?
Yeah, it's a YouTube channel. So there's lots of people who actually just, she basically delivers a lot of seminars all over the world, and you usually get 15-minute YouTube videos on them. Some people just take them and put their own animations to them or whatever, but it's all straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak. So it's fascinating stuff. It's life coaching at its best, I think.
Fantastic. Thanks, Andrew. And who's an up-and-comer, someone in your network maybe that you think might be the next Musk or Bezos or Huffington, someone that we should be keeping an eye on?
I'm not a great reader of the news, and I thought about this question a little bit, and I can't come up with a name, but my take on it would be, anybody that can deep think and articulate their ideas in a clear and logical way is got to be up there. It's the deep thinking, and not everybody has it. Huh? You see that in George Mumford's book. He's deep thought about his subject and delivers that beautifully. And I think anybody that can do that in that articulate manner is going to be up there. I'm not articulate enough, unfortunately, but there we go.
Andrew, you are very articulate. Thanks for sharing that. And again, the best place if people want to follow up directly with you, how should they go about doing that, Andrew?
Just pop onto my website acgolf.ch. Obviously, you can direct email me from from there. Get there's direct links to my YouTube channels if nobody's seen me before, so they can have an idea of what I'm doing. It's the best point of contact at the moment. And then as soon as golfyourselftolife.com gets off the ground, then that's where I want people to be channeled to who basically know nothing about golf, maybe want to take up golf, maybe even invite the golf skeptics. I love that, just to get them on board and say, well, why do you play this stupid game? It's a good work spoiled. No, you've got the wrong idea. That author's died long ago, and so did the team with it. So.
I'm terrible at golf. I'm putting my hands up here, but from watching your content, you definitely, there's an itch that you're developing for me to go and get involved, and I'll be sending you a selfie when I'm allowed to get out of the house at some point in the future, I'm sure.
Good man. Good man.
There we have it. Andrew Cullen is the Managing Director and PGA professional at acgolf.ch, where he enriches people's lives through golf. He prepares his clients technically, mentally, and emotionally to perform at their best and max out their enjoyment on the golf course. Don't you just feel it when Andrew talks? Check out his YouTube channel and his videos. They're fantastic. He got his first customer, as most golf pros do, by actually being on site at a golf course and getting referrals from that. I think there's a lesson there for any entrepreneur in the future to think about who in a position of power might be a good referrer of clients to you. I think there's some extrapolation that can be done from that. The app that he uses every day is GoWard. It's a mobility app to keep him young and limber, and he also uses that with his clients. Reading-wise, really great recommendation here. The Mindful Athlete by George Mumford, the MBA coach. Great, sounds like a great story, and Andrew in particular recommends the audio book, which would be good for us when we're out in the greens listening to an audio book whilst playing. I don't even know if that's allowed, Andrew. I've probably done a massive faux pas. He loves watching Abraham Hicks life coaching on YouTube, and he thinks then someone to be keeping an eye on is someone in your network who's a deep thinker, someone articulate. Not sure who it's going to be. Maybe it's someone out there listening to the JOD Pod now that you've been inspired by what Andrew's been speaking about and want to take some action to double down on whatever profession that you're in and turn that into a business. You can follow up with Andrew directly on his website. That's acgolf.ch. That's acgolf.ch. And why not connect with Andrew on LinkedIn? Go onto LinkedIn, type in the search bar Andrew Cullen, that's Cullen. Drop him a note, say that you heard about him on the JOD Pod. I'm sure he'd be more than willing to have a conversation with you over a coffee, over Zoom, maybe on the golf course. Andrew, thanks very much for joining us today on the JOD Pod.
Thanks very much, James. Can I just do one more thing?
Yes, please.
In your honour, but I couldn't read my notes with these on. So thanks for your... Thanks for your time and your invitation.
I'll double up on that. Let me see if I can take a photograph. Where are we? Okay, lean into your camera. There we go. Fantastic. That's going to go on the socials. Thanks for that, Andrew. I'll cut that out for the podcast. And thank you for joining us on the JOD Pod. To make sure you don't miss out on any of these interviews with coaches, authors, founders, and entrepreneurs, you need to play the YouTube game. Hit subscribe, hit like, hit the bell so you get a notification every time we upload a video. And why not ask Andrew a question about golf and entrepreneurship in the comments below? I will bully Andrew to come back and answer every single one of them. Hopefully you've been inspired by what Andrew's been speaking about today. Please go and build something for yourself, just like Andrew is doing, and go and inspire the next generation. Thanks for joining us today on the JOD Pod. If you enjoyed this interview, why don't you check out some of these other interviews that we've done on the JOD Pod. More inspirational CEOs, coaches, entrepreneurs, founders, and authors. I'm sure there's something here that will inspire you to build something new.